Cheerio, Kyungye. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to the first Taekwondo Thursday video of 2023. With so many tournaments coming up over the next couple of months, I thought it would be useful to do a short video on the rules for sparring in competitions. Of course, the rules can vary slightly from tournament to tournament, but there are a selection of rules that are pretty much consistent no matter where you go. But I would always advise you to double check the rules for any competition that you're going to, just to be sure. Let's get started. First of all, let's talk about what the target areas are. When we're sparring, we're allowed to hit the front and side of the head, the front and side of the body. We are not hit below the belly button. We are not hit behind the midline here at the side of the body. So the kidneys, the back, the spine area, they're all out of bounds. The back of the head, that's all out of bounds. So let's look at the scoring system. Usually 1 point is allocated for a punch, 2 points are allocated for a kick to the body, 3 points are allocated for a kick to the head. Most, but not all, tournaments will allow 1 extra point if you do a jump. There is one little exception to the extra point for jumping. If you do jumping punch but it hits the body, it's still only 1 point. A jumping punch will only give you 2 points if you hit the head. Let's move on to some of the warnings. So if you do a minor infraction of the rules, you will typically get a warning. Any combination of warnings, three warnings of any combination, will get you a minus point, or if you like, a plus point for your opponent. What are some of these minor infractions? Well, hitting an illegal part of the body, for example, below the belly button or the back of the body, back of the head, that's going to get you a warning. If you turn around, so turning away from your opponent, that's going to get you a warning. Leaving the area of the competition or the ring, that's going to get you a warning. There is a couple of things to be careful of. For example, I think we've got this area in line here. So blue mat, red mat, blue mat, red mat. From here, if I have the red areas out of bounds, if I have 1 foot out of the area, I'm not fully out, therefore that's not a warning. But if I lift my inside foot and kick with it, well, because my foot's in the air and the other foot's outside of the area, now I've basically left the area, so that is a warning. They're most of the infractions that will get you a warning. Not sparring. In other words, if all you're doing is dancing around, moving around the ring, you're just refusing to engage in your opponent, maybe for 30 seconds or something like that, it has a bit of discretion to the referee, well then, you can get a warning for that as well. More serious infractions can get you a direct minus point. So for example, using an illegal part like an elbow, for example, or a knee, that can get you a minus point. Loss of temper can get you a minus point. Talking to the referee, goading your opponent can get you a minus point. So these are more serious infractions. For my own students, that pretty much never happens, so I'm not worried about that, to be quite honest with you, for my own students. Knowing the rules, knowing what can get you warnings, can sometimes be the difference between winning and losing a match. So it is really, really important that you actually do know what can get you warnings, but also what can get your opponent warnings. I'll actually cover a little bit more about that in the next section, which is going to be some general tips and tricks for competitions. Let's get into some tips and tricks. We have to keep it kind of very general because people fight in different ways. But let's look at what we can get covered. First of all, let's talk about the rules. If you can see that your opponent is near the edge of the area, so for example, let's say right here, okay, and the opponent is right here near the edge, it does make sense to not only try and score on them, but also really put pressure on them to see, can you get them to go out of the ring? because not only can you score, but you can also get them a warning as well. This becomes even more critical if you know they've got 2 warnings up on the board, and one single more warning will get them a minus point. So this is very, very important that you are paying attention to these things when you're sparring. And also being aware, if you've got 2 warnings, one more warning, you've just lost a point. So you have to be aware of what's happening in the overall circumstances of the match. It doesn't always have to be going out of the area. Sometimes it can be getting him to turn. You know, a well-timed blitz. You mightn't score the punch, but you might just get him to turn away from you. Well then, you know, you've just got your point by getting him to turn if it's 3 warnings. So these are all the things you can be paying attention to. Particularly for the lower grades, it's very important to combine your hands and your feet. So a lot of times beginners will do a single technique, a jab, a side kick, whatever it might be. But what this does is it's minimizing your chances of scoring, because people can just react to one technique very easily. What you need to do is combine hands and feet. So if you start kicking, finish with your hands. If you start punching, finish with your kick. It's often the final technique that will score the point. Very often that's what will happen, especially with beginners. When I say beginners, I mean kind of up to green belt really. So start working on combining hands and feet. A lot of times as well, your opponents will give you the opportunity because of their reaction to the first couple of techniques. Maybe it's stepping back, so you move in with punches, they step back, move away, which gives you the range to finish with a kick. Whereas if they stood still, you know, you could be too close. So these are all the different things you need to work on. And the last tip I'll leave, there's loads, we could do this for hours, but the last tip I want to go through today is use the ring. Use the area. Try not to be going in straight lines forward and back or staying on the one spot all the time. Move and work your angles left to right. Try to hold the center of the ring. Try not to spend too much time at the edges, but if you do spend time at the edges, be mobile left to right so you don't keep going out of the area and accumulating warnings. Okay, so hopefully you found some of that stuff useful and you can work towards it. Remember, start applying that stuff now in class immediately and start getting, there's a lot of information in that, so you want to try trying to apply it and learn it as quickly as possible. Alright, have a lovely week everybody. Cheerio! Kyungye!